Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unfiltered Vet Discussions. We are so happy to have you here today. My name is Kelly, and I am joined by Peter, Beth, and Phil. You can see our full names and titles and all that fun stuff at unfilteredvetdiscussions.com. We are also on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok. So please, and YouTube. So please come like, follow us, and comment there. We've had some comments recently, and it's been fun to engage with the audience. We are also on podcast platforms like Spotify, Amazon, Google, etc. So come join us. Today's topic is managing your team in a slowing economy. And I'm going to toss this over to Phil because Phil, you kind of came up with the idea, and I don't want to paraphrase your words when your words were even better. So do you kind of want to give us a little description of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when things get tight, and we go through these vacillations and in the economy, is that when things slow down, generally speaking, I think with we do have Dr. Peter Weinstein, MBA, if I remember correctly. Um, and but in business, what we start looking at, what are the first where's our major area to cut costs? And so many companies, the first thing that they'll look at is that staffing costs are obviously one of the biggest things. And if you look at it as a line item, that seems like that's the quick and easy way to shed um, the red off of the sheet. However, what's actually been shown, and Adam Grant does a lot of great shining the light on this, but there were, and I apologize for not having the reference, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but essentially, when companies make the decision that they're going to support their people, so when things get tight, they're going to make other decisions instead of laying off and firing people or laying people off completely. When the decision is made to keep those people employed, that those companies do two things: they bounce back quicker and better than the companies that shed employees during that. Profit margins go up, I believe, and I'm paraphrasing, but then also retention goes up because they put their money where their mouth is. Is that they've said we feel like you're an important integral part of this company, and so we're going to make decisions to try to keep you on board. And so what I'd really love to know is, I know, as successful private practice owners, Beth, both you and Peter, that you guys have both been owners long enough that you've gone through some of the slumps. And I just really curious, like, what's that when you see it coming? Like, what does that look like when you're in the meeting with your practice manager, and your medical director or whatever your leadership team is, and then saying, well, look, we know we're not going to lay people off. That is our last that is the last option that we have. Um, where else can where else can we either increase profits, increase revenue, or decrease, shed some costs? So I'd love to hear what your on the ground experience is and walk through that.
Beauty before age.
Oh, thanks. Well, yes, this, I feel like we went through like obviously a really hard time with this during COVID when we all had to end our lives basically. And in that time frame, which I feel like we're headed into sort of a mini version of that now as people are kind of tightening up their wallets a little bit at the moment with the uncertain times that we're in right now. But I know during COVID, we didn't lay anybody off. And we just worked with the team and were super honest with them from the very beginning. So they knew kind of where we were and how tight things were. And that has always been what we've leaned into. And then trying to find ways to increase revenue has always been what I have geared towards, kind of like what Phil was saying. I value my team so much that I didn't want to put any of them through that. So like when we were really shut down in COVID, we took people who were optionally willing to scale back their hours or go to part-time because we had a few people who were very financially comfortable that were like, you know what, I don't mind cutting back a little bit. So we did that. And then we just juggled people around to try to maximize having people where we needed them and maximize where we could see appointments. I mean, to speak to like that time period, that's kind of what we did. But more relevant to now, this is actually a conversation that we've been having because our margin has been somewhat narrow, as I think people are a little worried. But we're fine. I'm not even, there's not even a conversation of laying anybody off. That's not even on the table for us. But we have been keeping an eye on our numbers month to month because I feel like it is coming. And we have done basically on the flip side, we try to really lean into when can we take new clients to try to fill our schedule more? And then what can we be doing to try to educate our clients, have our team educate our clients to increase what we're bringing in per appointment and per day. Like, and I can speak more specifically to that, but that's kind of like the umbrella picture of like what we have leaned into because I just don't want to put my team through the loss of that. I feel like it's really, really bad for like team culture and like everyone's psychological safety because then they're just worried if I'm next. And I feel like I had people worrying about that back in COVID, even when I said no one is going to lose their job. I had a few people come up to me privately and be like, I know you said I wasn't going to lose my job, but am I going to lose my job? I'm like, no. So I feel like people worry about it so much, even when you're like saying you're not going to, that I can't even imagine what that would do for morale if you did have to lay people off. So it has always been something that like would be a last ditch effort. Like my business is going under before I would do that because I just find my team to be so important that they feel safe.
It's hard. Like we did the same thing, right? So I don't run a veterinary hospital, but I still run a business with employees, right? And the concern is real. And when a company has to lay off somebody, you do watch the morale go down and the negativity and the doubt come in, right? And it is a choice, and every business gets to make their own choice and not, I mean, a P&L sheet, unless if you're a private company, if you're a publicly traded company, that's open for everybody's business. But a privately company, that's not typically what people see. But it is hard. You've had conversations with your team. Some volunteered to step back, right? Because they said, I believe in this company and things like that.
Mhm.
But I have too many ideas and they're all trying to come out of my mouth at the same time and they're all jumbling up. So there's different things. There's multiple line items on an expense sheet besides staffing, right? But I guess what's trying to come out of my mind and out of in through my mouth is that means you actually have to watch your P&L sheet. So it sounds like Beth, in your business, you are watching the numbers. In my business, we go through it every single week.
Yeah.
Every single week we go through it. But I have had clients who say, I don't know if I can afford you. I have to see how much money is in my bank account at the end of the month. And I have to pay my team. And then we'll see if I have money to pay you. And I'm thinking, where's QuickBooks when you need it? Right.
Yeah.
So I think the even bigger assumption stepping back, and Peter, you can talk about this. Are you watching the numbers to even know what you're going to do with the numbers with your team? Right. I think that's kind of an assumption.
Yeah.
So, Beth, I hope your team doesn't listen to this podcast because what they probably only heard was, I'm laying people off, not anything else around it. They're only going to pick out that one snippet. So you just
Right?
fired your team.
I
Yeah,
know. I feel like just because I even said the words, now I'm gonna have five of them come to me and be like, "Am I getting fired?"
yeah, exactly. They won't hear everything else contextually.
Right.
All right. So I opened my hospital, and 2 years later, there was a recession. This was many moons ago. And we were still young. We were still in the growth phase. And so it slowed the 25 to 30% growth down to 3 or 4 or 5%. But at no point in time did we make any adjustments to the people on the team because they're irreplaceable. when you have started to surround yourself with people who understand your vision, your mission, your values, and build the culture. The practices that tend to manage to what's it left in the checkbook at the end of the month, as Kelly just mentioned, are the ones who basically will lay people off because they are reactionary, not responsive. This profession is hyper reactionary and is a PPP, piss poor planner, when it comes down to it. I have a feeling that quote's going to show up on one of the socials. But we are. I mean, less than 50% of the practices out there have a budget. Less than 50% of the practices actually managed by numbers. They manage by which way the wind is blowing. And a month with 3 payrolls is a killer because they haven't figured out that it all averages out over 52 weeks, not over 31 days. So there is sufficient data to show that staff retention equals client retention. And during economic challenges, the more you can keep your staff on board, the more consistency you can deliver for your clients, the more comfortable they will be because of trust. And they trust your people. So if you want clients to be able to spend, even if it's just a portion of what they have spent in the past, they want to see continuity at the front desk, in the exam rooms, with the doctors. And the minute they start to see disruption, or the minute that you see new untrained people, they start to wonder what's going on as well. So I think what people need to recognize as things are very uncertain in our environment, both from the clinical standpoint, but don't watch the news and don't look at your stock portfolios. Staff retention equals client retention. Clients are looking for consistency in your practice, and you can't do that with a high turnover, and you can't deliver high value by shrinking your staff. But where you should be investing, which is the number one thing people will cut when things are slow besides people, is marketing. And this is where you should be. This is why you have to have a 12-month marketing plan, not a 12-minute marketing plan that says, oh, we're slow today, we better market tomorrow. So I'm going to throw this back at Kelly and say, how do you, working with your clients, convince them that marketing is 24/7, 365, and not just, when things are hard, we're going to cut marketing because we can't afford it. You can't afford not to.
You can't afford not to. So that's interesting, Peter. So I've looked into this kind of over a few years because, I've been through some recessions and everything like that. So I don't have the documents like Phil at my fingertips, but paraphrasing, they've done studies of companies like in the Great Depression and the different recessions, that the companies that leaned into it and marketed, they number one survived and they bounced back quicker because people knew they existed and were there for them. And that mattered to people. Like people are emotionally attached to brands. And I'm going to argue that veterinary hospitals are definitely a very strong emotional attachment because that's your fur baby and you trust your vet and you want your fur baby taken care of, right? It's not like somebody I'm just going and having no relationship with as a brand. So your brand matters. And if you drop off the face of the earth, we think the worst and not the best. So we think, well, did they close? Are they still there? Can they take care of me? But also you will bounce back quicker. Studies have shown depression, recessions, time and time again, your brand will bounce back. Now, Peter, to answer your question, we get 2 types of people who come through our door in hard times. Ones who get that they know they have to double down and that they need to start marketing because on the internet, especially, it's a 3-way, typically a 3-month runway to start getting traction in your marketing unless you want to spend a gazillion dollars on ads. Google will take every single dollar you give it. Social media will take every single dollar you get it. So sure, can we get you front and center in people's minds quickly? Yes, but you're going to have to open your checkbook wider. But to keep going and build the engagement and build that connection with people is a 3-month runway to start. And then you want to keep that going on a drip basis. So some people get that. We also have people who wait too late and they knock on our doors and go, I need a silver bullet. I need my exam booked till tomorrow. Typically, those hospitals are, on fumes financially anyway. So they can't afford the ads to get front and center. They just want a miracle tomorrow to keep their doors. They've waited too late. So if you're listening to this, don't wait too late, because it will cost you more to get out of the hole and you may not likely have those funds to give it. So the Small Business Administration says up to 7% of your gross. Most people blanch at that number. Most veterinary hospitals typically are spending 1 to 3% of their growth Peter, on their marketing. So if you think that's a lot, it does generate and come back through the door to assist you. And also and I'm not making a plug for me, I'm just saying in general, not all marketing companies are the same. So just because somebody is like saying, hey, we've had people who said, come to us, they're like, we're spending $2,000 on ads and getting no conversions. Well, because the ads are set up to demonstrate to the client that, hey, we're getting click on your ads, that's great, but you want conversions and tails through the door. Well, the clicks are coming from across the country, not in their area. So always make sure whatever ads you're doing or marketing, you know the keywords and you see the actual ads being displayed, because I'm Minnesota, and if I was a veterinary hospital and my ad was showing in California by Peter, he's not driving to the 4 days to Minnesota.
Not when it just snowed last night. Heck no.
It just snowed, no. So yeah, marketing matters. Lean into it. You may even have to pay a little bit more than that, 2%, depending on your demographic area. If you have less people, less competition, you don't have to spend as much. And if you're in a high density area, you might.
And I feel like there's two different types of marketing too. Well, there's a lot more than that, but I think there's marketing to attract new clients, and then there's marketing to educate to your current clients or remind them of services, or to come, be on preventative or benefits of wellness blood work and like all those things. And I think that those should look really different. And from my limited experience, I also feel like not all vet hospitals are good at acknowledging that they probably need both, and I think both are important in different ways. So like my hospital has always been super blessed in that we opened at a time and in a location that really needed like a mid-road vet hospital that provided really good care at kind of average prices. And we've always not been able to keep up with how many clients want to come to us. So our marketing has always been geared towards educating our current clients and reminding them of services and trying to kind of increase how many times throughout the year they're coming to us, that they're buying things from us instead of online, that they're willing to do additional services. Like we have really been able to lean into that because we have never needed, I feel like a jerk even saying that, but we've never really needed to try to attract new clients because that pool has always been there. Now, that may change as time goes on here, but for us at least, we've been kind of able to lean into the educational piece a little bit more, but I think it's important to note that those are very different.
Very, and you're right, because people a lot of times think marketing is just equal tails through the door, when marketing also means engage your current client base. And you can tell too, we saw this during COVID, Beth, to this statement is how many of your clients stopped seeing you after 18 months? Like, where did those clients go? Did they just not come in? Did they go to somebody else? Like, that number really increased. So,
What's interesting is that people will spend a lot of money on marketing, but not spend any money on training their client service people because they are the ones who do the conversions. And so, we're going to get a little on a tangent from that standpoint in terms of client service. Marketing drives people in, your client service people drive people away. And so the conversion rate has nothing to do with the effectiveness or ineffectiveness of marketing. It has every impact of how your client service people ask for the appointment. We did a phone mystery call program where we called 100 hospitals. 50% of the receptionists didn't ask for an appointment. All right. So Beth and Kelly knows this as well, but I look at marketing in three fashions: filling the funnel, which is acquisition marketing; tightening the neck of the funnel, which is retention marketing; and then referral marketing bridges both because it's using your existing clients to fill your funnel from that standpoint. But the vast majority of practices do not have a marketing plan and no marketing budget. So it's reactive marketing from that standpoint. Drip irrigation is much more effective in a desert community than flooding the ground. I live in a desert. We're all about drip irrigation. We also don't have a lot of water. So, and unlike Beth, who had more snow and rain than you care to shake a stick at, and Kelly just got some more snow and the land of lakes, we don't have that. So drip irrigation, staying in front of people, is extremely important. Now, I want to be completely transparent about what I'm going to say next. I thought I would have some fun and I would do something that our clients do when they come in with a list of symptoms of their pet's diseases and say, my dog has some sort of disease that's only found in Senegal during the rainy season. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, what should a veterinary practice do to retain profitability during an uncertain economy? And they had 6 suggestions. So for those of you who are listening, get a pen and a piece of paper out, get your keyboard going. I'm going to give you a second. Number 1, optimize pricing and revenue streams. Makes sense.
That's fair.
Fair.
Number 2, enhance client retention and communication. That's called marketing.
Yep.
Number 3, improve operational efficiency. Makes complete sense because we're so freaking inefficient.
Yep.
Number 4, control overhead costs. Now, I want to do the sub bullets on overhead costs because you will find that they do not include cutting people. Evaluate facility expenses, leases, monitor inventory, absolutely, and watch energy efficiency. So LED lighting, programmable thermostats. Number 5, focus on employee retention and productivity. There is nothing in these. And the final one is stay adaptable and monitor financial health. We covered in some fashion all of those in the last 30 minutes or so that we've been talking. And we hit every bullet point that is on ChatGPT. So thank you, ChatGPT, for thinking the same way that we do. But I have become somebody who really loves ChatGPT just to validate the reason that I'm alive.
Good job, Chad.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's actually a really nice list.
It is.
I agree with the computer overlords.
And to dig into each line item for operational efficiency, not just how you run things, but like from a P&L point of view, like David would probably say this, like what are the subcategories in there?
You want to know the subcategories?
Yeah.
The subcategories for operational efficiency: streamline scheduling. Well, Beth, that's what you did. You talked to your staff. Yeah. How can you help us be more efficient in utilizing our people? Optimize staff utilization. In veterinary practices, we tend to schedule the most people at the worst time during the day, lunchtime. We need people between 8 and 10 and between 4 and 6, but the shifts overlap in the middle of the day when we're not seeing outpatient. So we have to try to figure out from that standpoint. Negotiate supplier contracts, absolutely, and leverage technology using AI, record keeping, automated billing, inventory management, et cetera. So those were the 4 bullet points under operational efficiency. When it came down to focus on employee retention, and Phil is missing in action at the moment, but the first one under focusing on employee retention was prevent burnout. Second was invest in training. Well, what did we just talk about with client service and marketing? And then finally, performance-based incentives.
Yeah.
During the pandemic, I was running the association, Southern California VMA. So I had like 1,500 hospitals that were, or 1,500 members, 3,000 members, whatever we had back then. And, we were getting staff concerned about their jobs. We were getting veterinarians trying to figure out what to do with their people. And during the pandemic, and Beth, you'll remember this, and Kelly as well, that first 3 months from March through June, veterinary medicine tanked because we couldn't do anything. And then all of a sudden, life opened up, and we went from, at the Mariana Trench, 25,000 miles, 25,000 feet under the ocean, to Mount Everest, 25,000 feet above the ocean. And many practices laid off people only to not be able to maintain. And that's where we started to get some attrition. So take care of your peeps, right, Dr. Richmond?
There he
That
is.
is correct, Dr. Weinstein. I appreciate you tapping into that wisdom that not only came from you, but perhaps came from your fingers typing that into ChatGPT as well.
Welcome back. We missed your smiley face.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I promise you I was smiling the whole time, even though I wasn't on camera.
Well, you can fill in now your thoughts on the postulations of Kelly, Beth, and Peter.
No, one of the things that I still, because I'm old school in the manner that still looking at AI and all of these things, augmenting who we are as human beings. And so, Kelly, one thing that came up for me is I'm still curious with the advent of with all of the social media that we have and all of that. What is the impact of personal referrals? I mean, I know we have Nextdoor and we have, regional groups on Facebook and, Reddit and those types of things. Is that still the main driver for building, for getting people in the door is personal referral from a client?
Personal referral depends on your age and what you consider a
A
personal
personal
referral.
referral.
So, yes, Google says it's up to 11 touch points to making a purchase decision. So,
Mhm.
my neighbor may say, gosh, you need to go see Dr. ABC because great, but then I may go see Google Dr. ABC and I may go check out their website and then I may go check out their social media and everything. And that depends on your age. That's my age range, right? Younger people consider personal referrals influencers. So a lot of influencers become personal referrals for people. So if you can come on social media in your area, and some veterinarians have done a really good job with this on their social media platforms. And the problem is a lot of veterinarians are not extroverts. They're like, yeah, no, I'm not going to be on camera whatsoever. And I'm like, well, then have somebody younger talk about the kittens that came through the door. But then they take that. A third place is reviews. So reviews have been shown to be almost as strong as personal referral. And think about yourself. How many reviews do you read and where do you read them? And what value does that have?
Yeah.
Reviews kind of tank after 6 months. And that's just kind of, nobody has said, well, they suck after 6 months. It's just been kind of the overall consensus as us as humans that a review older than 6 months isn't valid or as valid anymore. It's a little stale and doesn't have the weight that it used to. But overall, for veterinarians, that human engagement. Like people come back to you, Beth. They come back to you, Phil, because there's a reason. They like you. They feel confident with you. They trust you. And always with marketing, whatever is online or offline. So if a neighbor gave it to me or I found the information online and I have this vision of what your practices and your experiences are going to be, if it matches my personal experience when I walk through the door, from the phone call, from the front desk person, from being ushered into the back, from soup to nuts, if that experience matches what I have gleaned in other places, then that rings true to me, and I will probably most likely be a repeat visitor. So, think about that in your own personal experiences, be it veterinary or going to a restaurant or shopping someplace. We're kind of skittish as human beings. So we want to kind of know that life's going to be okay. Does that make sense, Phil?
Yeah,
So
100%. I mean, I genuinely find it fascinating, and also find soup to nuts. I got a chat GPT where that one came from.
yeah,
I
it may be a Minnesota thing. I don't know,
No,
like
I mean, I've heard it, but
or holy cow or holy moly, hot dish.
I gotta dig
Yeah,
deep into soup to nuts.
soup to
I gotta
nuts.
know. I gotta
Yeah.
know.
But the thing is, like Peter said, that your front desk, those phone calls can tank you. Like they can just blow the ship out of the water with people coming.
Yeah.
I think what you said, Kelly, in one word is congruity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You have to be consistent in your messaging from soup to nuts or lower.
Yes.
Um,
Mhm.
and think about it, Phil. Um, but
Hmm.
I do think that it also goes back to my talks that I do consistently. I think I'm going to wrap this with one thing. We
Yep.
started this conversation about focusing on planning in an uncertain economy. And really, the word in that was planning, because we don't take time to plan. And so I have a talk that I call Wanji, which is work on, not just in, your business. This is the time when we're heading into a rough patch that you need to tap the brakes and get held to the steering wheel and try to figure out where you're headed. This is the time to spend away from your practice working on and setting a game plan, marketing plan, setting a budget, setting a human resource plan going forward, because anything you do now, your planning for the future will be in a much, will put you in a much better position than having to react to an environment that is uncertain. And you know what? If you plan well and nothing happens, you'll be even better off from that standpoint. But by waiting for something to occur, um, then you have to react. And reactionary is reptilian brain. And we use our amygdala way too much, and we don't use our cerebrum enough. Take some time and Wanji, work on, not just in your business, especially going into a time of economic uncertainty.
With that, we will finish up today with the unfiltered vet discussions. Thank you for joining. We'd love your comments. We have multiple places you can leave them. So whatever floats your boat, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, Apple, Google. I have to sit and think about where we're all at. So you can't miss us, basically. Pick one and leave your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. We will give the royal wave goodbye. And until next time, thank you, everyone.